Fellas, welcome back. Today, gender fluid versus transgender. It's time to educate some people in our community, people outside of our community, on the difference between these two things. And there is a huge difference. Let's start with the basic definitions. Gender fluid first. Gender fluid, the definition, not fixed, can change over time, depending on the situation, male or female, both or neither, depending on the time or the situation. That is the definition of gender fluid. And if you know people that have a very long explanation of their gender identity, they fit into that. Now, let's look at transgender. We'll break that down into two. Trans, across, beyond, or onto the other side of. An example, transform. Trans is a prefix, that's the beginning of the word. Gender, designated male or female. Two divisions, designated male and female, classified by and or organs and function and sex. That's the difference. Definition. Now let's talk about the difference that we know of in community and all of the selfishness that surrounds people wanting to be under the same umbrella that don't belong under the same umbrella. I'm back. Dr. Liam, your coach, transgender man, 29 years. I'm a human movement scientist. I'm a research scientist. I am a clinical exercise physiologist too, a master trainer, and a whole foods clinician. I've also been doing FTM research now for the last 20 years. I've lived my life stealth for most of it, but that's not really on the radar now for you people that ask. Once you become who you are, it's just not the life that you live. Plus, I don't surround myself with only community. I don't know a lot of community, but I don't box myself in. I live life. As you grow older, you don't want friends, no way. Let's move forward. All right, transgender. Transgender folks, MTF, FTM. That's male to female, female to male. We are very clear about that. There is no flip-flop. There are no days where you feel like expressing yourself in a feminine way, meaning wearing things that are designated usually for female versus male. It doesn't happen that way. When you set out to transition and you are actually transitioning to the other gender, the point is conformity in a lot of ways. Your idols, your role models, the people that you look to mimic usually conform into society as men or women do. Does that mean that you forget about who you are? No. Does that mean that you are better than someone that doesn't? No. But it absolutely means you know who you are, and that's the point. Hormones, that's exactly what they do. I love when people say shit like, well, I'm on hormones, but I don't identify as. Well, actually, if you know what testosterone does, it cancels out anything that's female. Testosterone's entire point is to erase estrogen. So you fools talking about super estrogen shots can go somewhere else with that shit. You're born with super estrogen. Keep it. Don't take a T-shot. You won't need to do anything. Just keep it and be you. Those of us that transition, that's the point. The minute you start to see those changes, you feel those changes, they match the inside. You are already who you are. Your endocrine system decides that off rip, especially post-puberty. If you didn't know before puberty, post-puberty, oh, you're absolutely sure. Because the body changes start to happen, and that's when dysmorphia really kicks in for transgender people. Gender fluid folks, when you say I'm non-binary trans femme, you're literally canceling yourself out in one statement. Trans is binary. You're going from one thing to the other. Learn who you are, and you can define who you are without anybody arguing. There are plenty of people that define themselves without using words that don't fit. And then there are the people that want to be a part of a group, so you just shove your way in. That's another thing trans people don't do. Imposition is not our thing, because imposition draws attention. And until you're at a point where you blend in society, you do not want attention. You want to live peacefully and enjoy your process. Because if you can live peacefully, it's the most wonderful fucking thing that you can go through. blossoming into you. But most people that I know that are gender nonconforming or gender fluid, the whole thing is to stand out. That is not our thing. And you know why? Because we've had to live the hard part. When you had no choice but to not pass. You had no choice but to put up with certain shit. But you knew who you were, so it was like, fuck it. Your own community rejecting you. Whereas you all have a community, but you want to push your way into a community where you don't fit. So what happens when we start having conversations about fallow? Because I got balls. So what happens when we start having conversations about binary relationships, gender roles, things like that? You're going to be uncomfortable and you don't fit. Representation and comfortability matter for everyone. Transmasculine men are no exception. I make that clear at the beginning of every video who I'm speaking to. If you can take from it, hell yeah. I'm compassionate and empathetic. I can respect who you are, but you won't disrespect who I am in the name of you feeling better about who you are, or because you want to push your way into some shit. How selfish is it to want acceptance from people outside of our community and then treat the people within your community the same way that the people outside of our community are treating you? Think about that. Because that's what you're doing. And I love the comparisons that come in the comments. Oh yeah, I dress like a boy too. Okay, yeah, but you like what's under them clothes. You might like your men's jeans, but you like the coochie that's in them too. Excuse my language, but that's what it is. We get rid of that kind of shit because that's not who we are. You want to understand it? Ask the cis man what he would do if he woke up in the morning with boobs. What would he do if he woke up? Never mind. That could go a couple ways. But for the most part, you guys know where I'm going with that. Surgeries. We do final things here. And there are a lot of people that are non-binary and gender non-conforming that do surgeries. I get that. But the surgeries that we do go all the way. There are no egg savings, none of that. We don't want to have a baby, none of that, because it's all dysmorphic. Because it enhances estrogenic properties. You don't know what that is? Woman making shit. The whole thing that the whole transgender thing gets you away from. Why am I so passionate? Because I listen to these conversations from afar, and if I were a cis person, I'd be like, these people don't know what the hell going on in life. Some of us do. We transitioned so that we could live the life that we want to live peacefully. We don't wish to impose on anyone else. I've never hated guys. I've never compared myself to guys. I still don't. But I absolutely know who I don't vibe with. That's called self-awareness. I can pick out who's for me and who's not for me. When you know you can do that. You see how this always comes back to you knowing you? Which is another reason why the convincing and the dissuasive and persuasive comments will never move me. I'm a grown-ass man. I'm 48 years old. I know who I am. 100%. Don't need a whole bunch of people around me to tell me that. Because they wasn't around me when I was going through the bullshit to find out who I am. See, you guys have had groups of people around you to like stuff and comment and validate you. And parasocial relationships mean absolutely nothing. You will come to find that out if you haven't. But the defining people that you can't define, that shit gotta stop. Because there's a group of transmasculine men out there that are young and are coming up, and they've got to live in the world that you are defining for them. But you can't. How are you going to go where I go and speak for me? When you can't go where I go, you can't do what I do, and I don't desire to be where you are. How does that work? And I'm not speaking for only myself. I don't know if you've noticed the comments. There are plenty of people that feel this way. We've never had a space that's safe to say it. And then the spaces that have been made for transmasculine men, we've had to blend with everybody else because the nonprofit space became so profitable to invite in everybody else. Say I'm lying, because I'm not, because I know. For sure. You're not always going to fit. Gender fluid folks, you're not always going to fit. Transgender folks, you're not always going to fit. But transgender folks, we aspire to fit, not to conform to society, not to be like anyone, but we aspire to fit to a point where we can live comfortably. Some of us even aspire for the house and 2 kids and a dog type shit. Just try to live out here, bro. Not fitting in is okay, but when you carve out your space so that you don't fit in and then you whine because you don't fit in, grow up. Grow up. Because nobody has pity for that. You see my attitude? That's the attitude of a man because I'm out here living like a man. That's what y'all don't get. The world don't see a trans guy. They see a black man. That's how I live out here. That's who I am in the world. Am I a trans man? Yes. But when the world looks at you, they see this loud... You know what I see? I remember years ago when I was young, and I think anyone in the LGBTQ community that's older now can empathize with this. Whenever rainbows and upside down triangles and all that came out, and it was super, super popular in the 90s, man, the whole back of my car was rainbow because nobody in my town knew what it meant. But I knew I was being defiant. I did everything I could to go against the grain, but I was searching for me the whole time. Now, I don't have to go against the grain. I'd rather live life and pass on jewels so you guys don't have to go against the grain and do shit that's going to get you in positions where you might get hurt, you might get in trouble, you might have low self-esteem, you might doubt yourself, you might hate yourself. And when you go against the grain so much, eventually things start to come back at you. And that develops a very bitter, mean, and salty person that assumes. As soon as you hear something you like, oh yay! The minute you hear something you don't like, fuck you. Well, people that know themselves, you can cherry pick what you want. Or you decide you ain't for me. Please know who you are. Stop defining guys like me because you can't. I can't define you. That's why I don't speak about gender fluid stuff. And that's why in the beginning, I always give a disclaimer that this is not for this, and this. This is for this. If you can take something from it, great. But I'm not talking to you. That's why when y'all get offended in the comments, I don't care. I ain't talking to you. Tell somebody, tell a friend. Shit, I don't care. The men I'm talking to, they have to survive in a world you don't know nothing about. Nothing. You don't even have to live in. And couldn't walk a day in my shoes or theirs. I guarantee it. Because it ain't easy. But that's a part of the joy of the journey. Knowing what you're made of at the end. That's the validation that you can't get anywhere else. The stuff that people look for in other people and their heroes and the people that they follow, and they had to earn that. They had to go through the hard shit. If you ain't willing to do that, this is where you're going to be. Fellas, next video is a beard video. You guys take care. I hope this educated some people. Pretty sure it pissed some people off. Don't care. Leave your comments. What's there is there. What stays, stays. What don't, I decide. And I'm a blocking motherfucker. So don't act silly. You guys take care. Have a good weekend. I'll talk to you soon. I love my brothers.